Hi, I'm Jake Deffinbaugh, and welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, a podcast where me and our friends talk about nostalgic moments and pop culture from our childhoods. We interview people such as actors, producers, composers, puppeteers, and more. We'll be sharing our favorite memories, talk about behind-the-scenes moments, and so much more. I'm your host, Jake Deffinbaugh, and welcome to this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hi there, welcome to another episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. My name's Julius, and we are here with Matt Bingel. Hi there. And our co-hosts, all of them, Chris Bixby, Matthew Johnson, Wyatt McCullough, and Jake Deffinbaugh. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
Very good.
Yes.
Very excited for today's interview.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This week's guest, you folks may not know him, but you'll know what he did. For 12 years, he was the director and writer for various Barney and Friends videos and episodes, including Good Day, Good Night, among many others. Please welcome Fred Holmes. Fred, welcome.
Hello.
Happy to have you here.
Welcome, Fred.
Appreciate it.
Yes. We're very happy to have you here.
Very happy to have you here.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're very happy to have you here, Sheriff. I think we've been fans for 12 years, it feels like.
Actually, I was on it for, I was on the show from 1995 to 2010.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That is awesome.
Wow.
That 13 years.
Longer than I thought.
Yeah, I was directing Wishbone, which was owned by the same company that owned Barney.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
He asked me to come over and direct some Barney shows. I went over and did a home video. It was the very first thing I did for them.
Yeah.
And then they asked me to stay, and so I directed. The last time I heard it was about 97 PBS episodes. So
wow.
Over the next few years.
That's
crazy.
I was directing shows for other people as well. You know, all the directors on TV shows like this, like Barney and Friends, are freelance. So while I was directing Barney, I was also directing Mary Lou Retton's Flip Flop Shop and Wishbone and other TV shows at the same time.
Yes.
Oh wow,
that's awesome.
That's awesome. So you're both a director and a writer. What got you interested in directing and writing?
Oh, well, I grew up on Disney movies, and
we all?
Nice, yes.
Yeah, you know, I would spend every weekend whenever there was a Disney movie in town. I'd spend every weekend sitting there watching them over and over again, and in the theater. And then, so when I got a little older, I decided I wanted to be. I did a little research, looked into it, and about the various jobs on a movie set. And the one that appealed to me the most was the director, because the director didn't have to be an expert at any one thing. They just had to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I actually majored in it in college and went to film school. And when I did several films did some films for PBS while I was in college.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And when I got out of school, I actually had projects to show to get a job, and I started out as an editor for TV commercials.
Oh wow.
And then over time I became a producer and then became a director, and went from there.
Awesome.
That's crazy. To think you started off with that, and then you're on one of the most popular kids shows of all time, Barney and Friends.
Yes.
Actually, before that, I'd done for several years. I did television documentaries shot all over the world. And then, but had picked up a strange disease in Honduras and almost crashed in a plane in Africa, and so I finally decided that I hadn't seen a movie yet worth dying for. So I came back to the States and started looking around for what I wanted to do, and I loved dramatic stories. I loved narrative stories. Yeah. And so I started directing some TV shows and some movies. I actually directed a movie called Dakota starring Lou Diamond Phillips for Miramax back years ago.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Then started doing some other things, and then did several little children's shows that were kind of local children's shows that for a while. And then the bigger shows started coming along, like Barney and Wishbone. And so I was asked to direct those. And I was one of the few directors in Dallas that had actually directed multi-camera shows and single camera shows.
Oh, wow.
You know the difference between the two, but movies are shot single camera, and the style that you direct movies is different than the style you direct television shows like Barney.
Yeah.
Barney is directed with 4 cameras all moving around at the same time. And I was one of the few directors who had done both. And so I was on Wishbone, that was a single camera style show.
Oh, wow.
Except when we did stunts or we did any special things, we'd do a couple of cameras. Yeah. But Barney was a 4-camera show. One of them was a thing called a Cam8, which is a camera that sits on a crane. Yeah. Booms up like does MTV, kind of moves. Yeah. And I was one of the few directors that had done both. And so they asked me to come over and do that. And I hung around for 15 years.
Wow.
There you go.
Did you know about Barney beforehand?
A little bit. Yeah, a lot of my friends had worked on the show back even before it was on PBS. They had worked on some of the videos.
Yes, the backyard game was started.
Y'all remember those?
Awesome.
Yeah, I grew up with
them.
They
had worked on some of those, and they were telling me about the show, and it sounded like fun. And I've always enjoyed doing children's programming because I love working with kids, and I've directed a lot of shows with kids, and the funny thing is, I've also done a lot of shows with animals, so it was no stretch to work with dinosaurs.
It's crazy.
So, what were some of your inspirations?
Yeah,
Disney. Yeah. Growing up, I'd watch anything Disney. And of course, Walt Disney's show when I was a kid. Walt Disney was still on the air, and he would introduce his show, and he was a surrogate father for me. I mean, I just adored the guy. And so years later, when I was in LA and I was doing some things out there, I got to hang out on the Disney lot, and I'd sit, there's a bench. Disney's office is in the animation building, and I'd sit on a bench just across from his office and look up at his office. And in the Disney commissary, Walt loved chili and beans. It was his favorite thing. And they still have at the commissary at Disney, Walt's chili and beans. So I'd eat his chili and beans and look up at his office and imagine being there when he was there on Goofy Avenue. And then I got to, a few years after that, I got to direct a guy named Dean Jones. I don't know if you remember who Dean Jones is, but he had starred in Love Bug movies. He did a bunch of movies, Blackbeard's Ghost for Disney.
Oh, wow.
And I got to direct Dean in a TV movie. And he would tell me all these great Walt Disney stories. And so it was a real treat.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Indeed.
So since we talked a bit about how you got started on Barney, do you have like a specific fun memory from working on Barney?
I feel like for you,
after 15 years, I got quite a few.
I feel like for you, because I think it was your idea. Correct me on this. Was it your idea to have Carrie jump in the pool? Because that is absolutely funny. Was that your idea?
No, that wasn't my idea.
That should have been
Carrie's.
Carrie will tell you all about it. But Carrie
we'll get him on
Roadshow, and then he. Then when I came on the show, David Joyner was still in the suit.
Oh yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, Bob West was doing the voice.
Yeah,
and Terry came on, and then Dean Went came on.
Yeah,
and so I was already there before those two guys came on. But if you're thinking about the time I had Carrie jump in the pond, that was my fault.
I think that's.
Have y'all seen that episode?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Very nostalgic episode to me.
The funny thing about that episode was that we had been planning it all out. We brought in this swimming pool. And
yes, that's the pool one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
That's the one where he jumps in the pool. He runs in the pool.
In the costume, jumped in the pool.
Yeah, stunt suit.
So we did tests on, because we were concerned, the pool was reasonably deep. And we were concerned that he might drown.
Yeah.
And because we caught him on fire before, and he's fallen.
Yeah, Josh Martin.
Right,
That happened to Josh Martin.
Yeah. So we had done all these tests to see how the costume would react. Well,
right.
you really never know. And so we had a little trampoline. If you watch that scene,
yes, it's all the best of Barney.
He does like a running. He does like a running jump.
Bounces on the trampoline, goes in the pool.
Yeah, he runs and jumps and boom.
All the water comes out.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
right.
told him,
Kids be all wet.
And I said, now, what I need you to do is, I said, don't jump on your feet because that won't make a very big splash.
Yeah.
I said, what I need you to do is jump and land on your bottom, and that'll make a huge splash. And he goes, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. So I roll, I said, call action. Yeah. He comes running and he jumps, and he hits the trampoline, jumps up in the air.
Yeah.
Well, he lands on his feet. And as soon as he does, he realizes, oh my, I wasn't supposed to do that. So he falls back on his bottom. It makes this huge splash. The problem was he sank like a rock. He went straight to the bottom. And I'm sitting there going like this, and everybody's looking at me, wondering when I'm going to call cut. But I wanted to see the water. I wanted to see the whole effect. So I waited a second. Finally, I said, and cut. And everybody jumped in the pool. And in those days, the way you pulled him out of the costume, there was a Velcro. It's kind of a strap place.
Yeah.
You pull that open and you birth him. You just pull him out, you birth a horse. Everybody jumped in and they pulled him out, but he sank straight down to the bottom.
Wow. I bet Brandon Smith would love to hear that, Matt.
Yeah, as one of our friends.
Yeah, the guy has Barney, his own Barney suit, and it's not like the professional like bite bar, and he's pretty good at it.
No.
Yeah.
He's pretty talented, but yeah, I'm sure yep.
So Jake, why don't you ask the next question?
Yeah.
All right. Well, even though you directed and write so many things for Barney, do you have a favorite Barney video or favorite episode that you have worked on?
There's so many I have of yours.
Oh, like I said, after I've done 97 of them, there's
like Little Rockin' Hood, I love.
And there are different ones I like for different reasons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My favorite thing I ever did for Barney was actually a home video called The Land of Make Believe.
Yes.
That is an amazing video. We
watched it a few days ago.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Amazing.
It was definitely the most fun thing I did, and
I bet
it was the most challenging. We spent more money on that show than we spent on
the Universal. Yep.
Yeah, Carrie. It was also at SeaWorld, right?
I'm sorry?
It was also filmed at SeaWorld, right?
It's actually an adjunct to SeaWorld called Discovery Cove.
Yeah.
Discovery Cove, that's
Orlando, right. Yeah, SeaWorld in Orlando. It's right across the street from SeaWorld in Orlando, but it's its own park.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing place. You can swim with the dolphins. You can do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But,
which they did for the video.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely wonderful.
We shot that at Discovery Cove. We also shot at Universal Studios, and then Universal Studios has an adjunct called
Islands of Adventure.
Islands of Adventure.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah.
And so we shot it at 3 different parks.
Oh wow!
And it
Carrie actually got to be in the video himself.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Carrie got to be in the video as himself.
Was that your idea? Was that your idea?
Yeah, because he had always wanted to be himself in a show. And I said, okay, here's your chance, because I need a guy for the opening to come running through the opening scene. And I said, come do it. And he loved it. He had a good time.
That's awesome. That video is great. It would have been cool to see like Barney do more videos where they film at like a place like Universal, because we watched that a couple days ago, all of us, and it was just really good. I love seeing
I love the reference to Jurassic Park.
Yes.
This little
that.
Well, you're probably wondering how we got permission to do that, because we're close about letting things. It turns out that one of my best friends is a guy named Jerry Molen.
Yeah.
Jerry won the Academy Award for producing Schindler's List, and he produced a bunch of movies for Spielberg. And so I called Jerry up and I said, here's what we're doing. Would you mind, could we use that theme, because we're shooting in front of the big sign at Universal. And Jerry went over and talked to Steven, and Steven said, yes, because in one of Steven's movies,
they show Barney on the TV. Yeah.
So he
that's right.
Jurassic Park 3, if I remember.
Yeah. It was Musical Castle, I believe, that showed on there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also, Booger and Rockin' Hood is definitely one of my favorite episodes of yours, where you get to see BJ and Meatball playing different characters. So that's awesome. And I know people are probably wondering. We brought this up in earlier. I think it was the first Kyle Nelson episode. Was it your idea that had Kyle, Jeff, and Adam play the elves in Santa's workshop in a visit to Santa?
Yes. Yeah. When we wanted, because we needed 3 little people, and they were same thing like Carrie. They would love to have been themselves in the show. Mm-hmm. But in Little Red Rocking Hood, I don't know if you guys know this, a little bit of trivia, but that is the only Barney episode in which the same person wrote it and directed it.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wrote and directed it.
Interesting. Yeah, my favorite, I think my favorite home video that you directed was Let's Play School.
That was mine.
Yeah, that was a fun.
I love doing Let's Play.
I love Baby Bop School. Love the whole set. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you were asking earlier why we didn't do more of the home videos on location with like places like Universal Studios.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We actually did. We were actually prepping to do another one. We were going to shoot at. Can't remember. It's that huge resort in the Bahamas.
Oh wow!
Like the hole through the middle. I can't remember the name of it. But we went there and spent a week prepping it and getting ready to shoot, and then. Right after that, we received word that they were trying to sell the show, and so it fell by the wayside because those are very expensive to shoot.
Wow. Yeah, I can imagine.
I can imagine. And they did film on location. Let's Go to the Firehouse was on location at a firehouse.
Yeah, that's right.
For Debbie Ryan.
That was probably the most miserable home video I directed.
Yeah,
I bet.
That the scenes where they're up the tunnel. They're in the tunnel. And they go up the tunnel line.
Yeah.
That culvert we shot that in. We shot it in the middle of the summer, and it was 120 degrees.
Wow.
Oh no!
Wow.
What? All these guys in the costumes were pouring sweat. We had
I can know that
for 5 minutes, and it was so hot that when I was in a tent off to one side so I could watch my monitor. But all the crew and all the cast were over in a different area. So I'd have to run back and forth between the 2 areas while I was directing. And at one point, the bottoms of my shoes, the soles of my tennis shoes came off. They literally came off because it melted.
Oh, my God.
No.
Wow.
Yikes.
So I feel like this is the perfect way to introduce this. This is a new question for all Barney people. And on Carrie's podcast, Purple Roads and Purple Tales, he's mentioned dancing in the sand as a challenging thing he had to do as Barney. What is the most challenging thing for you as working on Barney on Friends?
I think it was the schedule.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the show, it's like directing a music video a week. And so you've got all these guys in these costumes.
Yeah.
You also have children that are running around their feet, and we're trying to keep them from getting killed because those guys weigh a huge amount of weight. And then they're having to learn dance numbers. They're having to learn choreography. They're having to learn dialogue and all this stuff. And we're having to shoot it in 2.5 days, sometimes 3 days. And it's a 30-minute show. So we're literally shooting more than 10 pages per day, which a normal movie shoots about. Like I was on. Did you guys see a movie called? It was the sequel to Jurassic Park called Lost World.
No, I know.
I don't think I've ever seen the first one.
Did you see? You saw Jurassic Park?
Yeah, I've seen the first
one.
one.
The first one I've seen.
Lost World was the sequel, and Spielberg directed it. But they were shooting 1.5 to 2 pages a day. And a normal TV show shoots around 7 pages a day. And we were shooting 10 to 15 pages a day. So trying to do that much stuff in such a short period of time, for me, that was the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, I think you should ask about that one video that had a blooper revealed, if you know what I mean. That he I don't know if he knows about that.
There's so many of them.
There's a lot of
the block one, the neighborhood one, where he walks around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now I know. Now I know which one you're talking about. Now I know which one you're talking about because there's so many Barney bloopers out there. There's one in particular. I forgot all about this.
It's the purse snatching one.
It's the purse snatching one from Walk Around the Block.
I directed that.
Yeah, did that actually happen?
Yeah, I remember when that happened.
So there you go. Somebody's out there putting that blooper out. There's a lot of other bloopers as well.
Yeah. There's so many. That's why I'm just like, because there's so many out there.
Georgie's
from that era.
46 of it.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're under so much pressure when you're doing a television show. Series television is, we call it grinding sausage, because you're literally just running as fast as you can the whole week when you're shooting. And it's every once in a while you just need a break. You want to be able to, relax and laugh and have some fun. And that was one of the times when we did.
Yeah.
I feel like the same would be my Valentine, where it happened as well, I believe. Anyway, question.
So, as a director, you've worked with all these different kids that would come on. Of course, two of them, later went on to be big celebrities. What was it like working with Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato?
It was great. They were both great kids and just a lot of fun. Especially Demi, was very focused on being a singer, movie star. She really wanted that. Selena was less enamored with it, but both of them were very smart, good kids. And there was just, you could tell, especially with Selena, there was just something different about her. You could just tell she had that thing that you have to have in order to be good at, achieve something in your area. And they were great kids.
Yeah. Something crazy about her being on Barney that came out, right, is that she actually apparently had a crush on Carrie, because she's revealed that she had a crush on the guy in the dino costume.
Yeah, you wouldn't have known that at the time, because they never showed that at the time. But I do remember her interview where she talked about that. And, and she actually could still remember the idea song.
There was a video where she was going through her songs, and she didn't remember a lot of them, but she remembered the idea song.
Oh yeah,
I like to think of something like that one.
Yeah, I've stayed in touch with both of them, and I stay in touch with a lot of the kids that I worked with, just because as they get older, it's actually it's fun to go back and talk about the old days and
it is.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what is it? So there's a question. I'm gonna rephrase it a bit. What does it mean to you, like how big Barney's become, with all the work that you've done for it and all the work that, everyone else has done? Like, what does it mean that,
like Stephen White and others?
Well, even while I was there, we were at one point, we were the number one television show in the world, a children's television show in the world. And at one point we were bigger than Sesame Street, more popular than Sesame Street.
Yeah.
And, we were in 110 countries around the world. And even today, all these years later, Barney, we shut down production, 12 years ago, I guess now.
Yeah.
And even today, it's somewhere right now at this very moment.
Yeah, it's still airing.
Going on television.
It's in another country.
Yeah.
It's in another country.
Yeah, it's for me, it's because I love kids and because I have a real heart for helping kids grow up and live good lives. It's a very important thing for me, and I'm very humbled by the fact that I got to participate in as little as I did. I'm very humbled that I got to be there during all that.
Yeah. So there's lots of talks about him coming back and all that, but if it did come back, would you be down to return for Barney and Friends?
It would depend on the show. It depends on the format and what all they're doing.
Because there's a documentary coming out also.
And they asked me to interview for that, but that was when all the COVID stuff was going on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Back in my documentary days, I picked up a strange disease in Honduras that kept me from doing anything in person because COVID would probably kill me.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it on camera. But at one point, there was a company in Canada that was talking to Mattel about doing the show. as an animation show.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Now they're talking about doing it live action again and using the guy in L.A. It just depends. I mean, the guy in LA that's working on it supposedly is a big Barney fan. So if it's the kind of thing that that I would agree with, then I'd do it.
I know Carrie would definitely do it. And hopefully we get Stephen White back, who also wrote the first movie.
Yeah, there's so many people that worked on the show that I mean, to me, it's real sad that they would go in and put a whole new team together because the team we already have is great.
Yeah. Bring back the original people.
Yes.
Dick Leach did the original, financed the original, according to Carrie. Bring it back.
That's right.
Because like I mentioned before we started the interview, we've spoken to Kyle Nelson twice. He said he'd definitely love to return if
That's right.
And I believe Carrie's been asking his podcast if he's would love to return. I think he said
I think so.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it only makes sense that you'd use the people who actually made it into a big hit. So,
yeah. And I know also Bob West also said he'd come back.
Who would?
Bob West also said he'd come back.
Sure. Yeah. Well, in 2019, right before the pandemic hit, I was contacted by Xingshang Global Studios in China. And they flew me over to China for a month and asked me to develop a show just like Barney. So I was developing a show, and then the pandemic hit and the whole thing fell apart. But that show is still, even in China, is still a major hit.
Yeah.
So I think if they do it right, if they try to update it or make it too modern, I think in it.
It won't
keep it the same.
No, it won't. People love it for a particular reason. They love it for how it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Barney's a timeless show, and it can't. And I don't think it needs to be dated.
It's taught people how to love.
Right. You're right, Matthew. Because
and imagination.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, Jake. If they come in and they try to make it hip and Barney's,
I wouldn't watch it.
Nope.
There's no point in watching it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That means do not give Barney a cell phone.
and even if the original people don't come back like in their roles, at least come back as consultants to help the people,
or just be at least work behind it.
And I think what they don't realize when they take on something like this is that we spent, in my case, 15 years of R&D, of research and development to find what worked. Yeah. And if they go back and they start from scratch again and they make all those mistakes that we made in the beginning, there's no point to that. They can just ask us what worked, what didn't work, and we'll tell them.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't, even if they didn't want to pay me to come back, I'd be happy to tell them, here are the things that worked because I want the show to be as good as it can.
Yeah. And it's also crazy, I think, that the show got canceled in the first season and boom, it came back.
Yeah, with the help of a pledge
It's still
drive.
crazy to think about.
Well, that should tell you something that there are people in this world that just don't get it. And a lot of times I think it's the reason they don't is because they have a misunderstanding of who Barney's target audience is.
Yeah, it's kids.
Oh yeah.
They were expecting these are the same people that you're seeing today that want something hip. And Barney he's not meant to be hip.
Nope.
Right.
No, he's not. I mean, yeah.
So here's a fun question. So is there anything at all from Barney that you want to show?
Or did you keep anything from Barney?
The thing from Barney I want to show?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Or Wishbone.
Like anything that you have from
or anything
Barney that you want to show at all, or
you mean show today?
Yeah,
like a plush or something. Oh,
yeah,
I have tons of stuff. I have Barney coats, and we have what's called swag. We get all these extra things, and I have chairs, and I have all this stuff, but it's all in storage.
That's fine.
Saving it for my granddaughter.
I know Carrie's episode of Purple Tales where he was in the guest chair. He had his crew jacket on, which I think is awesome.
I have crew jackets and crew shirts and hats and you name it. I've got it. I've got watches and
next time we show. No, just kidding.
I was in New York when Barney was showing at the Radio City Music Hall.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we were there doing some meetings actually about doing another Barney movie. And so we went over and watched the show. And one of the things that they gave me was, I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was like a wand, and it would blow and make all. Yeah, it was.
It light up.
So I got some tons of great swag, but it's all in storage.
It makes me wonder something.
Yeah, a lot. I still have like a lot of my old childhood Barney tapes. They're probably all in storage.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder something. You said Radio City Music Hall. The Wiggles must have either been live in New York City or Musical Castle.
I'm sorry?
It was either live in New York City or Musical Castle when he was in New York.
I really don't remember the name of the show.
Might have been music.
We were there meeting with 2929 Productions, Mark Cuban's company, about doing a Barney movie.
Yeah.
And so we just went over because the show was on. We just went over and caught it. But we got to sit down in the very front, which was really nice. And then at one point I turned around and they were doing the If All the Raindrops Are Limited. Remember that song?
Mm-hmm.
It's song.
Carrie was in that song, and all the kids were standing up going,
Yeah. Matthew, ask it again, Bob. Matthew, what would
you remember Carrie was in the suit? Because that might help us be able to tell which tour it was.
No, Carrie was not in the suit. This was
okay. So
Carrie was already doing the show. This was
what was it? Colorful.
It had to be in
Colorful World. That's right.
Which Matthew actually went to.
I did. I went to Colorful World.
Did you really?
Yes, I have pictures in my scrapbook, but it's in the attic. So
yeah, and I went to Birthday Bash, which was amazing.
Well, Matthew, we were probably there at the same time.
It was in a different states, but that would have been funny.
Yeah. So I'm kind of wondering about this. Since you're actually directing episodes for Wishbone, do you have a favorite episode that you enjoy doing for Wishbone?
Wishbone? I actually enjoyed pretty much all of them. My favorite was probably the one on Treasure Island.
Yes.
You remember that one? And
I think I do, yeah.
We had sword fights and muskets going off, and we had a Spanish galleon. And would you like to hear a funny story from that episode?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
So we built a Spanish galleon on our soundstage to do a scene where Wishbone was up on the top deck.
Yeah.
And in the scene, he was supposed to go down through a cargo hold, down some stairs into the cargo hold, where he was then going to jump in a barrel and get an apple, right? That was the scene.
Yeah.
So I set up the camera down inside this cargo hold, which was about 10 feet below the top of the deck. And Wishbone, his real name was Soccer.
Larry Brantley spoke out about
Soccer that. Was down. I was down beside Soccer's trainer, a woman named Jackie Captain. And Jackie had done White Fang for Disney. She'd done a lot of movies. And I've done a lot of work with animals. So we got along great. But Jackie was down there beside me with the camera. And then Soccer was up on the top deck about 10 feet above us with the assistant trainer. Mm-hmm. And so when the plan was I would call action, and then Soccer would come down the steps and then jump in this big barrel.
Yeah.
And so that was the scene. What Jackie didn't know is I had spoken with her assistant trainer, and had her assistant trainer put Soccer back in his kennel and get out what we call Dead Dog. And Dead Dog was this stuffed dog that we used for lighting and all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And she had Dead Dog up on top of the thing. So when I called action, the assistant threw the stuffed dog through the hole. All Jackie saw was this flopping and with legs and arms flopping and splat right there in the middle.
Oh no!
Wow!
I thought her $1 million dog had died.
Oh no!
Now that I did it, she chased me around the soundstage.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh!
Oh boy!
Larry Brantley, who was the voice of Wishbone, people love that when that
happened.
Yeah, but I directed Sherlock Holmes. I don't know if you remember that one that where we had the Baskervilles. Yeah, we did that one, and my goodness, I did so many of them. Yeah, it was fun.
So go back to Barney. It's a question I'm kind of curious about. Why in some videos, for example, Land of Make Believe, did the kids appear only once and not any other appearance?
Oh, the kids in those?
Yeah.
We hired them locally.
Oh.
Okay. It was purely a money decision.
Yeah.
We did talk about taking some of our own kids, our cast kids with us.
Yeah.
But it was just a money decision. That way, if we cast them locally, we didn't have to pay to put them up in a hotel or fly them on a plane. And so they were only in the home video.
That makes sense.
Okay. So, Matt, I think you should ask the next question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you worked on all these things over the years. What is it that you do now?
Actually, I've segued into writing. Well, I was doing that TV show for the Xinjiang Global Studio. Got canned, so I've started writing novels and been doing that now. I actually wrote a novel called The Ugly Teapot, which was a lot of fun to write, and so I'm just toying around with that. And then I still work on shows if it's something that I'm interested in. But I've long since needed to do it for a living. So I just do it if it's something I really want to do now.
That's understandable.
Wow. Yeah. I feel like we should go back to this. Jakey, I feel like you should show the fan art.
Oh yes.
Yes. Well, I think it's like a while ago or something like that. But I actually made a fan art of Wishbone, like the characters, and that's Sucker. And that's Sucker himself, the logo.
Look at that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I appreciate that you like it.
Yes.
You would have loved the kids on Wishbone. They were all great kids.
Well,
Sam has definitely Barney as well.
We need to. It'd be cool to talk to the voice of Soccer.
Which is hilarious.
Wishbone,
he was actually a guest on Purple Roads.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So do you have any advice for someone who wants to get into directing or writing?
Boy, I tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked that question in interviews over the years. Because it's everybody would love to direct. It's like the job that everybody thinks is the most glamorous. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. But it's the one everybody thinks that because of Spielberg and all these guys.
Right.
I will tell you how I did it, and that's probably the best thing I can tell you. And that is when I went to, like I told you earlier, I went to film school. But when you're in film school, you're really not. People don't perceive you as being experienced or trained. You only get that in what they call the real world. And so when you're in school, it's always good to try to volunteer to work on any TV shows or movies that are in your area so you can get some real world experience. And then in my case, I actually, as I said earlier, I did some shows that PBS paid for. Gave me grants to do while I was in college. And so when I left college, I actually had some shows that I could show that were professional shows. And they showed that I had the ability to edit. And so the very first job I was given was as an editor. And then in those days, the editor would come out on location and edit the TV commercials while they're being shot. And so I was out there editing a TV commercial, and the director got sick. And so the producer, who had been working with me on the editing side of it and overseeing editing, said, well, Fred knows as much about the commercial as he did, so let him let Fred direct.
That's awesome.
So I started directing, and then not long after that, I offered the chance to direct a industrial film that was being shot in Peru. And while I was there, I met a guy that was a freelancer who was traveling around the world directing documentaries for National Geographic and people like that. And so I started doing documentaries, and I directed documentaries. I've been all over the world in tons of countries, and did that for about 2.5, 3 years. And then, as I mentioned before, I almost crashed in Africa one time, and I picked up a strange disease in Honduras. Yeah. And, it's a very dangerous profession. These are the ones I was shooting in third world countries all over the world. So then I came back and I looked around and saying, okay, well, how can I move into doing narrative films and television? And so I looked at myself honestly and said, what are my gifts that will allow me for somebody would hire me who wouldn't normally hire me? And that was in writing, because I'd been writing some stuff. So I wrote a spec screenplay, and the spec screenplay was optioned by people, and that got me where I met people, and slowly over time, then I got to start directing stuff. So it was, there's no one shoe fits everyone. There's all kinds of ways of breaking in. Yeah. I will tell you, if that is your long-term goal, then what you have to do is you have to look at your skill set and what are you good at doing, and then try to use that skill set to break in. And I will tell you that the entree position for moving into directing are either editing or writing or producing. You probably heard that, you could be an assistant director. Assistant directors have nothing to do with the directing job. Assistant directors are purely technical. They're not creative people. So don't think, I'll become an assistant director and that's how I'll become a director. They're two different animals. So the way you break in is either through writing or producing or editing.
Right.
Wow.
Very good words.
And I think good advice.
And I think what you said about, learning what your skills are, I think that can go for just about any profession. Because, for example, Matt is an up-and-coming,
we interviewed last episode as the co-host.
He's an up-and-coming puppeteer.
Yep.
So I think, and he's definitely given some good advice several times.
Yeah.
Several interviews about how to get in.
Thank God you didn't have to this episode.
Don't worry, you don't have to. Hey, don't worry. Don't worry.
I've had to the last 4 straight episodes. Thank God I didn't have to this one.
You don't have to for the next 3.
Yeah.
Most people find it easier, if you pack your bags and you move to LA. LA is just a big city, and it's a dog eat dog world out there. Yeah. And I've spent a lot of time in LA and have a lot of great friends in LA. But if you pack your bags and go out there and think, I'm going to be a puppeteer and I'm going to get on all these shows, it doesn't happen that way. You need to start locally with some local show and develop your talent and showcase your talent.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. For sure. So do you have any words to say to your fans, whether it's your work on Barney or Wishbone or, in general?
Well, I am thrilled to death that people still appreciate and love the show, even after all these years. Yeah. I was honored to work on the show, and I hope that the show in the future, if it does come back, will be something that is honoring to the show that came before it.
Yeah, yes. I definitely would like to see that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and here's another question. How do you feel that Barney and Friends is now 30?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We asked that.
I can remember when I was 30. So imagine I worked on a show that's 30 years old. Yeah, it's amazing. And if you think about Wishbone was 20, we went off the air 26 years ago. I mean, that's just amazing.
That's
absolutely.
Yeah. But I'll tell you the thing. I think, Chris, what I'm most pleased about is that here we are, after the show is 30 years old and it's still being watched somewhere in the world.
It's still being talked about also.
At this very moment, somebody is watching that show somewhere in the world.
Yeah. Yes. It's still being talked about.
And think about this, guys. How many professions can you do in which that is true. You could be a policeman. You could have a great impact as a policeman. You could be a school teacher, have a great impact as a school teacher. But what kind of profession do you get to do in which multi-millions of people all over the world that you will never meet get to watch your work? And
exactly.
That's funny.
Exactly. And it's all on YouTube, probably like every single episode, like anything and everything of Barney. It's
also Daily Motion
on YouTube. Daily, it's everywhere.
Wherever you find your videos.
And I know season 7 for 14 is actually streaming to Tubi TV.
That's
Tubi,
right.
Roku,
Roku,
Netflix.
Places. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yes.
I'd love to see it come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where can people find you at?
On social media, yeah.
Yeah, where can people find you at social media?
At flholmes.com.
There you go.
flholmes, HOLMES, flholmes.com.
Nice.
And in fact, you can go on my website and you'll see pictures of from the documentaries that I've shot and all the different TV shows I've worked on, and it's fairly up to date. There's not everything's there, but there's a lot there if you want to go and see. And if you want to check out my book, The Ugly Teapot, there's a link there. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew,
and your website is actually going to be in the description down below, so people can just click the link and go and see your website,
see your work, and find you all
everything.
Yeah.
Matthew,
Matthew, I don't know if you've
asked this.
The last
has everyone else asked this question about me?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
I'd want to say so, yeah.
So when you think of nostalgia, what do you think of?
Because the podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, so that's really the last question we ask all of our guests.
When I think of nostalgia, what do I think of?
Yeah.
Nostalgia means different things to different people because everyone's life experience is different.
For sure.
I think nostalgia pretty much across the board appeals to everyone because we all have this sense of an earlier time in our life having been better than the time we're in. And I think, honestly, Matthew, the thing that I always loved about working in fantasy stories is that I've never been real happy with the world I live in. And so I'm nostalgic for a better time, a time when things were simpler and more innocent and more kind and more loving and more accepting. I mean, that to me, and maybe it's because I was more that way when I was younger, and you become more cynical as you get older and you go through so many rough things. And so I find myself as I get older being enamored with nostalgia because I just want to get back to who I was back then.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good words.
That's good words. Best words.
Absolutely.
Very good words. And I honestly cannot thank you enough for on behalf of Jake, Wyatt, Matthew, and Matt, and I just can't thank you enough for being on here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I have thoroughly enjoyed it. You guys are wonderful, and you're doing a real service and to everyone. And
you all are worth it.
I applaud you.
Thank
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for you having time for being a part of the show, and you did a great job of what you just done. What you're doing in general, and keep up with great work. And I can't wait what's next for you.
Would you come back? Would you come back on the podcast? Maybe have you, Carrie, and Josh on? Because I think
or any other Barney people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Would you come back on the podcast and maybe have you and Carrie or anybody else you worked with on Barney?
Yeah, I love those guys. I'd be happy to do that. That would actually be a lot of fun because I'm sure we'd all start remembering things.
Like Stephen White.
I bet you probably all crack each other up a bit too, I would imagine.
Sure.
Probably a lot of fun and interesting.
Like Stephen White. We need to get Stephen White on this podcast. That's one of my goals.
And Bob West.
That'd be fun.
Those are two that we'd really
We used to have Christmas parties at the end of the year, every year on Barney, and I'll tell you, there were a lot of great stories floating around.
I bet.
We'd love to have Bob and Stephen White on. Those would be cool people to have.
That'd be great.
Maybe you can help. I don't know.
Yeah, Stephen White. I don't know if you guys know, but Stephen White just lost his wife. So,
yeah, that's right. I did.
I'm going to be a little sensitive about that. So yeah,
What's up, Bob?
Had leukemia.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about the loss that he had. So
yeah, same.
Yes,
appreciate if in the comments, just comments, just praying and everything.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Pray for his family.
Chris, how about you in this episode off?
All right, Chris, take it away.
Jakey, never say that
so
again.
corny, but no, it's fine.
Chris, take it away.
Chris, end the episode off.
Thank you again to Fred for being on the show, and thanks to all our viewers and listeners for continuously supporting our show. This is our 34th episode.
No, 35th.
Almost 35th. We've been doing this for almost a year.
We're doing it for almost a year.
July will be 1 year anniversary.
July.
We got some really big guests coming up. Actually, we got some more big guests coming up.
Yes,
the one on Tuesday's big. The one we filmed on Tuesday is big.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you guys for supporting the show and stay nostalgic. Of course,
and you're all worth it.
You are worth it.
And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Goodbye.
You are worth it.
Bye, everyone.
And remember, we love you.
Oh, and
yes.
Keep nostalgia alive.
Yes.
Yes. It's a new one. Yes. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time on another episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Be sure to follow us on social media and stream us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Bye bye.